Hello, everyone. So, for starters, I'm going to check my mic to be sure I am not muted this week. And I think we are a go. So, hopefully, you can hear me. Welcome. If it's Wednesday, I am right here at 8:35 p.m. Eastern, 7:35 Central Time, and 5:35 Pacific Standard Time, right? And so, welcome. I'm Twanna Carter of TwannaCarter.com. And today we are hitting something that hopefully you will find useful. Why it's time to say goodbye. The 10 convincing reasons to leave a job. That is what we're talking about today. So let me maneuver over to my comments. You are welcome to make comments. So, welcome to everyone on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter. I think I got everybody, right? So, welcome. I appreciate you being here. And again, feel free to talk, drop your comments in there. Talk to me. I don't mind at all. Ask me questions as well. This is a huge thing. And for me, it's a huge thing because I get a lot of clients that come to me because they're not sure. Should I leave the job? Should I stay? Why would I go? And all those types of things. So we're going to talk about the convincing reasons, 10 convincing reasons, to leave a job. And not only that, because I'm not going to leave you hanging why you should leave the job, but I'm also going to tell you how to create an exit plan, how to get prepared to leave, because typically that's the thing that keeps us stuck in a job. Okay, yeah, I know I need to go. I know this job is toxic, but how do I do that? How do I do that in some semblance that makes sense to me? And so, again, that is what we're talking about today. You see it there. 10 reasons to leave your job. So be gentle with me today. I have practiced this, but it's always different when you do a presentation and it is live, right? So let's get started with number one. And, this is a huge one. It's just stagnation in your career, right? It's a top reason to leave your job. Why? Well, if there's no growth, what's the point of the job? And I don't know about you, but I like to learn. I like to grow. I like to be engaged on the job. To me, the worst jobs that I had were those jobs where all day long I had to find something to do to feel busy or look like I was doing work that day. Oh, I hated that. That is very difficult to do, 5 days a week, day in and day out. So without growth, of course, you're not going to feel challenged. You're not going to feel like you're fulfilled, like you're actually making a difference, right? And here's the thing: when you're stagnated in your job and you don't grow and you don't feel challenged, it becomes, the longer you stay in that position, it becomes harder and harder to move to a new position. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. Some companies are set up that way. They get you all excited, they get you in the door. Yes, we're so happy to have you here. And then they kind of sort of don't use you to your potential. They kind of sort of give you a little bit of work, and you sit, and the longer you sit, and you're like, hey, I need to be using all of my skills, all of my knowledge. This is not what I thought I'd be doing. And they just kind of let you linger for, 6 to 12 months, maybe a little further than that. And then they got you because you're not doing anything. So if you're like, I'm tired of this, I'm ready to go, what are you going to do? Because you haven't met the requirements of that position. And it becomes harder to get a job, to get a promotion rather, in that position because, well, you really haven't done all the tasks and requirements of the position. You've kind of been like picking around at it, but you haven't done the position. And I've been in companies that have done this, and I have coached people, that have first walked into their job, and I'm like, grab your job position, your job description. You need to know how to do everything on that job description, up, backwards, forwards, front ways, back ways. And sometimes it's a fight, and you're having to go in and sit down and talk. I need to do this. I'm looking to do this. I'm ready to do this. And they're kind of like, yeah, well, that's a way to keep a body in the seat, knowing you cannot go because you don't know what you need to know to get a job for that position. So there's a huge reason, another reason other than being bored at a job, is you don't want to stay stagnant in the job for too long because you lose out. You lose your value for that next job. Okay. So Reason number two is just a lack, if there's a lack of growth opportunities in that particular company, there's limited chances for advancement, that can often lead to frustration, and then as well as just stagnation, right? And I've known some folks who go and I've been in that job. Let me just not talk about a client. I've been there. I was all excited to get in this particular agency. It's like, yes, I did it. I got here, landed my first job out of, my completing my master's degree, and I was all excited. And then a year came, and I was like, hey, I didn't get my promotion. And then I went and talked to HR. And it's like, oh yeah, your career progression. You'll be a GS9 for the rest of your time in this position in the federal government. No, right? So right off the bat, lack of job opportunities, zero growth there. That did lead to frustration. I got to tell you, it did lead to frustration. So you don't, that is a prime time to leave, right? And so it took me another 2 years after finding that out. I did leave. I mean, I left. I can't grow in this job. I'm not going to be here making this same money year after year after year. And I was so happy I did leave, because a few months after I left, they put all freezes in the government on hold, and I would have been stuck at the same pay had I not left and gotten a promotion. I would have been stuck in that job for like 4 or 5 years, no pay increase, nothing. All right. And so again, when there are lack of growth opportunities, that is a reason for you to go. It's time to leave that job. That is a reason why you would leave a job. All right. And so number three is I think it's kind of given, and I'll say it's a given, although people do stay stuck there, right? It is toxic work environment. A toxic work environment is really detrimental to your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health, and I like to add another one in there, your financial health, right? All of those are important. Being stuck in a toxic environment, a toxic workplace, tends to drag you down. I've spoken to people who've been just stuck in these places, and they're like, well, I've now lost my confidence. I don't feel confident that I can go anywhere else and do any better than what I'm doing right now. I mean, who's gonna hire me? What am I gonna do? This is it. This is all I know. And so again, if there's a toxic work environment, you want to get out. You want to start looking. And I know career coaches are saying, oh, you need to leave. And I've been in a couple of jobs. It's been a 2 year long trek for me to find another job. But you can take those incremental steps, right? You don't just have to wait to, oh, there's a job I may want, and try to get ready. There are things that you can do leading up to that. And that's what we'll talk about. This the 7 steps to leave a job. Okay. And so again, if you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to drop those in there for me, and I will answer them while I'm live on air. Number 4, poor work-life balance. Yeah, this one right here. It is something else every day to feel like you're just going to drag yourself out of the bed. You're going to drag yourself into the job, because when you get to that job, you're going to be working all day long. It's like bam, 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 all day, right? And, it's frequent overtime. I know I've worked in a job where it was mandatory overtime. It's like it was mandatory. So we were working 9 and 10-hour days, mandatory overtime, right? Or, this working all the time also, it interferes with your personal life, because there are a lot of marriages that fall apart because one spouse is never at home. The other spouse is like, I'm doing all the raising of the kids, all the taking care of the house, I'm doing all the things, and all you do is work, right? And the other thing is poor work-life balance can lead to burnout, right? It does lead to burnout and stress on all your relationships, not just your romantic relationship, but your relationship with your family members, your extended family, and your friends as well. So it is important, right? Very important to be sure that if there's poor work-life balance, you take a look at leaving. You don't have to stay. You have options. All right. And number 5, this one gets a lot of people. Inadequate compensation and benefits. This one kind of hits people when you're chugging along and you're okay with what you're making and bringing home, until you sit around, you're listening, and you actually hear someone, overhear someone speak and realize you're making $25,000 less doing the same job, right? And so I have a Facebook user. Let's see what she says here. Facebook user said, I just left my last law firm on Friday. Yes, congratulations. She said, I was with them for 5 years. This coming Monday, I start a new position at another firm. I left the last employer due to a toxic and dysfunctional environment. Good for you. Lack of growth opportunities. And I always wanted to get into medical malpractice law. And this new firm offers that along with the opportunity to work on high profile legal cases with a top trial attorney. I'm a paralegal. So, congratulations. Perfect. This is what I'm talking about. When you take that chance and you take that leap and you go, that is what you get. You get a chance to do the things you really want to do. If you have an employer that is not appreciating you, that is not valuing you, take those steps and prepare to leave. Again, we're talking about the 7, steps to leave at the end of, I'm on number 5 right now. So we've got another 5 to go. And we're going to talk about those 7 steps because just like this Facebook user, you can find another job. And oftentimes it comes with a pay raise. Getting another job is equal to you get a pay raise, right? A lot of people stay stuck in their same job because what if it's making worse, or less than what I'm making now? So don't take it. If you have a job that's like, hey, I just told my daughter, I was like, no, they're offering you less than what you're making now. No, thank them for the opportunity and stay where you are until someone pays you less. You have choices. You only take a job and leave when they pay you more and it's doing what you want to do and it's located where you want to be located, right? You have those choices. You don't just have to take what is given to you. All right. That's just a misnomer. You can definitely, work with the coach and get what you want. Absolutely. Okay. And so number 6, all right. Number 6 is misalignment with company values and culture. So this happened to a lot of folks in the medical field. Um, if your company's practices and policies conflict with your own ethical standards, it can lead to that constant internal struggle. And this happened to a lot of people that work in medical companies. A lot of medical organizations moved to it's an accountability measure. They started doing measurements and counting things and looking at percentages and how effective things were. Great. But when the shift comes where we shift to the side where we're more concerned about measures, about meeting measures, than we are about taking care of patients. For a lot of us, in the health fields and the human services fields, that sets up an ethical dilemma. When someone's telling you, I know this person needs it, but it doesn't fall within our standards. See if you can talk them to something else. And what you requested will help that person. That sets up an ethical dilemma. And that's just one example. But when that happens, it's time to look for another job, right? It is definitely time to look for another job because the longer you stay, the worse you feel and the more internal strife and struggle you experience, which elevates your anxiety, it can increase depression, and it can certainly elevate your stress. So definitely leave if that's the case, right? That's a sign that it's time for you to leave a job. Number 7 is limited job satisfaction. We want to be happy with what we do. Most of us do. I mean, I know some folks that may be debatable, but job satisfaction is definitely crucial for overall happiness and well-being. So why, some of us are spending 8, 9, 10 hours, some 12 and 13 hours a day at a job. Why go somewhere that makes you unhappy, puts extra stress on you, stresses your mental health, stresses your emotional health? Why stay in that job? All right. If there's limited job satisfaction, I get when you got that job, 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was wonderful, but things change and people shift. Just like you can move into a residential area, and someone told me that about every 8 years there's a turnover in a residential area. You may not be living in the same place you thought you were living at first. The same things can happen to jobs and organizations. People come, people go, the shift changes in what they believe and how they practice and what they do. And that's a sign that, it's time for you to find another job. Okay. And number 8, this just happens and it's a wonderful thing when it does, right? You just find better opportunities elsewhere. Sometimes these things you're not even looking, they just land in your job. They just land, I'm sorry, in your lap. I remember I was working on my PhD, and I had an alert set up, and a job came across. I was like, I don't have time to, because I'm so picky when I apply for jobs with my resume. And then I looked at the job again. I was like, oh, but it's perfect. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to worry about it. And so my friend was like, go ahead and apply for that. Let it tell me you know. And so I gave myself a deadline. You're not going to spend the next 7 days working on this resume and applying for this job. You got a day. You're going to apply for this job, call it a day, and be done and over with, right? I didn't go looking for it. It just kind of landed in my lap. And out of over 200 people that apply for the job, I happen to be one of the 6 that they hired. So, sometimes better opportunities just come. This was a promotion. Again, it was a wonderful place, and I'm still helping people, and in fact helping veterans. So sometimes things just fall into your lap, right? And when that happens, go ahead and look at leaving your job. If it's a better opportunity, it's giving you more benefits. And, if you have to work in an office and they allow you to be hybrid, or they're saying, hey, you can do remote work, a $30,000 raise is always a wonderful thing. It's always a wonderful thing when you like the job that you're doing, right? And so, it's about finding those new opportunities that really fit you, and, you work with the folks that the culture fits you, right? It's also about seeking growth and seeking those stretch jobs. And it's about improving the environment, especially if you're in a toxic environment. How many people out there have just had that job to fall in your lap? You were not looking, you weren't even perusing for a job. You just looked up and it kind of fell in your lap. And it's a wonderful thing when that happens. Drop yes in the comments if you've been one of those people that a job just dropped right there, like boom. Or you get that call, hey, you take a look at this, I think it fits you. And I get, when I was working for other folks, I would get that all the time. I saw this job, I think it fits you. And people would send it to me, right? That's what happens when you have an effective network. Right. So number 9, ineffective leadership. Ooh, what can I say about this one? Okay. Number 1, it's frustrating. It is frustrating to the hilt when you have ineffective leadership. Typically, that's what people do. People will leave a job because it's poor management, poor leadership, right? It's frustrating. It's demotivating, especially you have a manager that is threatened by, you're over there doing your job because it's what you do, and they are threatened by you, and they make your life miserable just because they can, or they're sabotaging you because they don't want you to outshine them. They're always finding these little nitpicky things or doing these silly things in meeting to try to, throw off on people that you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, definitely a sign to leave. If you have ineffective leadership, if you have a sabotaging boss, definitely time to leave for another job. All right. That was just kind of straightforward. You don't have to be afraid. A lot of people are afraid that I'm going to make less than what I'm making now. Only if you accept less. You don't have to. And that's a great reason to work with the career coach. We all work with you to find a job that gets you that pay raise, that fits you and gets you out of a toxic work environment. And it's not always a lower paying job. So I have a comment from a Facebook user that says, and I probably need to make my print bigger so I won't have to squint down here. It says, this new employer is in a town I always loved, and the interview went extremely well. The only caveat was that I would have had to take a pay cut, a $3,000 pay cut. However, I was willing to take it if I got the opportunity to work and learn in this area of law. But the new employer made an exception and matched what I was making with my former employer, and will raise the salary once I prove myself. Perfect. That is it. That is the mark of someone. And you can join my Facebook group, Courage to Transition Your Career. That's where this Facebook user is. That is what happens when you take that leap, right? And I've seen people say, well, I'll take a $10,000 cut. And I'm always one going, no, you want to negotiate that. Negotiate. You don't have to negotiate. Once you prove your value, right? If you do that correctly, people tend to pay you what you're worth. All right. But I'm so happy for that Facebook user. Sometimes the experience in getting out of a toxic place it's worth that couple of $1,000 pay cut. And sometimes you got to look at your benefits in addition to your pay cut. I had a client, she just landed her first C-suite role. And she says, well, the pay is not quite what I wanted it to be. But then she turned around and negotiated like a plus $300,000 stock option. I think that beats that $5,000 she was kind of worried about. I'm thinking that 300 some $1,000 stock option beats that $5,000 pay raise every day and twice on Sunday. And she also negotiated like, I would get a bonus. As long as I do and meet my measures, I will get a bonus. You cannot come back and tell me, well, the company didn't do this, and so we're nixing bonuses. She got it put in her contract. No, I still get a bonus. That's what negotiation does for you. So it's not always about just the salary. Look at the stock options. Look at the bonuses. Look at personal time off. Is it unlimited time off? Do you have a sick family member that you need to take off? Sometimes those things are well worth a couple of $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 pay cut, right? Because typically you will make that up in stock options or bonuses, right? And if you get both, you're golden, okay? Definitely, if you get both, you are certainly golden, right? And number 10, the reason to leave a job is burnout. Yes, it is burnout. Okay. Burnout is it's a state where physically, emotionally, mentally, you are just exhausted, right? This happens because of prolonged stress, you're overworked, and you don't have rest, you don't have work-life balances, and stresses keep piling up and piling up and piling up. This is definitely a reason, number one, to get coaching. And depending on where you are, I may also, I recommend my clients get therapy because it depends on where you are in the burnout. Sometimes you need therapy in addition to the coaching to work and resolve the burnout. But this is definitely a reason to leave a job. Over time, this is detrimental to your overall health, right? And you're like, yeah, everybody says that, but here's the thing, right? If you lose your physical health and you cannot gain it back because there's some illnesses that only get worse over time, will you look back and say, oh, it was worth every penny that I stayed in this job where I was burned out and I got this cancer or I got this disease or I got this, it's worth every penny. Most of the time, we're not going to say that. I mean, we're not. Let's just be honest. Most of the time, we're not going to say it was worth every penny to lose my health. So burnout is a reason if you can't take the time off, or there's a consistent high pressure, high stress job and the management is ineffective. Your best bet is to hire a career coach, someone who help you with working your way through, because I get it. Sometimes when you're burnt out and you almost crawl away from that job, you go home, you pull the covers up over your head and you just stay there because you're so tired. Well, that's the role of a career coach. We can help you through that, helping you through to guide you through the stages and the steps that you need to do so you don't feel like you're all alone. Because when you're in a burnout phase and you're in an anxiety brain, you don't make the best decisions and you don't make great decisions at all because that's not your mindset. You're just tired and overwhelmed. Okay. So let's go on and talk about, let's see. I guess I would have to show the slide. There we go. Steps to take before leaving your job. Before you make that final decision to leave your job, it's important to, take certain steps to ensure that you have a smooth transition and that you maximize the chances of your success in your next endeavor. And so here are 7 steps to consider. All right. So number 1, I forget the top 10 countdown. Was that Dave Letterman used to do the top 10 countdown? I think so. Assess your skills and strengths. Take stock of your skills, your strengths, and areas that need improvement. Okay? Because this self-assessment will help you identify the types of roles or industries that would be a good fit for your abilities and interests. And again, this is one thing that gets a lot of people, that keep a lot of people stuck, because they can't look at their skill sets and then see how that applies to a new role or a new industry, right? So that is why I became a career coach, because I've had 41 different jobs and I've been in 11 different industries. All right. And I only took a pay cut once, and I told you about that one. That's the first one I did when I transitioned from the military, which is bad, awful, horrible, horrible. But I learned how to, and that's what I help folks with as a career coach, because my first one was bad, 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 right? And so I had to learn how to do it, but it took me a while to come back from that. And so that's why I do what I do, because this is what keeps people stuck. Like, I know I have skills, but I don't know how to interpret that into a new role. I don't know how to, see, well, this will fit that or interpret that in a new way. And that's what career coaches do. We help you to do that. Okay. And number 2, you'll definitely want to research new career options, explore the different career paths out there in industries that align to your skills and your interests. You don't just have to stay stuck in one thing. If you choose to do that, that's fine. But if you want to get out and try, dip your toes in different waters, go ahead and do it, right? You want to conduct that thorough research to gain insights into the job prospects and growth opportunities and requirements and required qualifications. Again, that is what I do as a career coach. I tell folks, if you see this, you don't want to get into this job, I show you how to look at a job and look at its growth over the next 10 years to be sure you're not hitching your wagon to a career that's on its way down. You don't want to jump from the pot to the frying pan, literally. You just never want to do that. All right. And number 3, you will want to network and seek advice. You heard me say a few moments ago that I had people will call me up or email me and say, hey, Twanna, I saw this job. This fits you perfectly. Are you sure you don't want to apply for this? That's what happens when you have a really good network. You don't always have to be looking yourself for a position. Your network will look for you. They'll drop things in your lap. I know I do that to folks. It's like, hey, this just came open. I think this is a really good position that you need to take a look at, right? And so you want to also reach out to the professionals in your field, right? And seek their guidance and support. Informational interviews. You've heard me talk about that. I've made a video on that. Informational interviews are a great way to reach out and talk to people. They're anywhere from about 15 to 25 minutes long. You're never asking for a job, but you can collect that information that you need. And it's a really valuable way to extend and expand your network, right? Because networking can provide valuable insights and definitely valuable connections, industry connections, and potential job opportunities. Again, you never, ever, ever, never, never ask for a job on an informational interview because you put that person on the spot when that's not what they're there for. But they're appreciative. You build that network, and when something comes open, they'll typically send you an email, give you a phone call, right? So that is a really great one, right? You want to stay in that network and seek advice. All right. And the other thing is update your resume and online presence. And I'll be honest with you. I coach my ladies that your resume should always be up to date. I just believe that this is another hindrance. And people's like, I don't want to apply for a job because I'd have to update my resume. Well, any new task that you get that you haven't done before, any new project that you complete that you've never completed before, you just update your resume in the moment. Right? Just update it in a moment. I have a system that I teach my clients of how to do that week by week. So when it's time to apply for a job, your resume is already up to date. It's already updated, right? Someone says, hey, I just saw this job. You think, yeah, such and such wants your resume. You don't want to go, wait until I hire somebody to do that resume and then no, you want to just have it ready all the time, right? That's just how I look at it. And you also want to, keep track of your online presence. Again, I do have a worksheet out there, how to network in less than 30 minutes. This is part of it. Update your online presence. Certainly LinkedIn is a great place, but so is Twitter. There's a lot of career things on Twitter, right? And even Facebook and even Instagram. But you want to, definitely keep track of your online presence so you're up to date, because again, I always knew when I was getting ready to get hired, because I'd have an anonymous person from the company that I apply for would look at my profile. And I was like, oh, okay, getting ready to get a call for an interview. And sure enough, within 2 to 5 days, got a call for an interview. So there's a method to the madness, and it doesn't have to take you hours a week, but you do want to keep that resume updated and your online presence as well. Number 5, if at all possible, save up for a financial cushion, right? when I was working on my master's degree, because I'm also a licensed counselor, I had to do an internship, right? Required. And I was going to do it at my job because they had all these mental health facilities. Well, about a year and a half into my master's program, they did this deal where they spun off all of the mental health centers. And I could no longer do my internship at my job. So that meant that I was going to have to take an unpaid internship. And if it was paid, it was going to be very little money because I had to do the internship. So I knew that 18 months out, this happened 18 months out. And so I immediately put my plan into place. Again, some plans are longer. This is an 18-month plan. I got all of my credit cards paid down. I got everything paid down to the very minimum per month. And as a single parent of 3 kids, I left a full-time job to do an internship that was paying about $5 and some change per hour. And I can only work 25 hours a week. I just want to put that out there. But it was doable because I started 18 months out planning that financial cushion. All right. So it can be done if you take the time to do it, because oftentimes leaving your job, it involves just this period of transition and possible financial uncertainty. Now, some folks got it. They say you should always have a 6 to 12 month, paycheck in your savings account and whatnot. Many people have that, but many people don't. But there are ways you can work around this. Okay. Because again, as a single parent raising 3 kids, I had to leave that job, and I had to leave it for a year. I was gone for a year. I went from, I think, January through December when I graduated. So it can be done. It absolutely can be done. But you have to plan. It just takes a lot of great planning. Okay. And number 6, do prepare for those interviews, brushing up on your interview skills. Again, this is a great time to hire a coach. If you need assistance with that, you want to be researching those potential employers. And I show my clients how to research, what to research, and how to read what you get, because it's not just enough to have that knowledge. You need to know, what it's telling you. Right. And how to interpret that and how you apply it for you. Right. And also teach them how to prepare those thoughtful responses to common interview questions, as well as dig down in things that are kind of uncommon, and how to anticipate and how to answer any question. Right. And so practicing with a friend, or, doing mock interviews with your career coach, are all ways that can help boost your confidence. Right. There's nothing like sitting in the interview and then you get asked 2 or 3 questions that you did a mock interview with your career coach, me, and it just gives you all kinds of confidence because you already know the answer. And when you already know how you're going to answer the question, then your authentic self shines through. You kind of get that little confidence. They're like, oh yes, I got this one. I got this one. All right. So those are the benefits of definitely, preparing an interview. And then finally, number 7, you do want to create that exit plan, right? When it comes time to resign, you want to create that exit plan that includes tying up the loose ends. It includes transferring knowledge to your colleagues. It does not include a video where you're telling your boss what you think about him or her. No, 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 don't do that. Don't do that. It's something I know. Don't do that. Do express gratitude for the opportunity with your current employer and then leave, because you never know who knows who. I worked on a job for 2 years. I had a mentor, and I would often, be in contact with my mentor's, deputy. And I didn't know, well, is it 2 years? Yeah, almost 2 years. I didn't know that my mentor's deputy and my boss were like this. Neither one ever said anything. So you always want to conduct yourself professionally. Watch what you say. Don't say anything bad, because when I found out, I was floored. And I was so glad that I never said anything about my boss. I never did. That's just something you don't do in the workplace. You may do it other places, but not in the workplace. But definitely, okay, you do want to be above board and be professional. If you go to my website, Empower Her blogs, Empower Her Insights, I do have a free template out there of how to do a welcome, the resignation letter. It's 5 free templates. You can choose from one of those because you can, these are things that they need to be wrapped up, but you want your focus on getting that job, interviewing, and then transitioning to your new role. And these are just some small things that when you work with career coaches, we help you through those things, right? So if you're just joining me today, do watch your replay. And for all of you who catch your replay, thank you. And for all of those you are live, today I talked about 10 convincing reasons to leave a job, as well as 7 steps, right, for you to take as you walk out away from that job into your new role. All right. And so I dropped lots of nuggets in here, and I'll be sure to link to everything that I talked about in the description and in the comments. And if you have any questions, always feel free to drop comments because I always circle back and answer all of my comments, right? Because if, I appreciate you leaving a comment. And so I just feel like it's the nicest thing that I could do is to answer your comments. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to open up. If you do have questions, let me pop over to, let's do this. I'm going to pop over to LinkedIn. I don't know if I'm actually live on LinkedIn. I know that LinkedIn was having some problems earlier today with live. So let me just check and see if indeed I was able to come through live, because I want to check the questions. Facebook, your questions show up here and I can see your questions on LinkedIn, but not so much. I'm sorry, on YouTube. So let me check one more time. Yes. Okay. It did come through. All right. So it actually went live. All right. So let me see if I can do this without the feedback, because there's 2 mics on. So I don't see any questions there, and I don't see any from Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If you heard all of this and you're like, I need all of this because it's really time for me to go, and I haven't been able to make heads or tail, right? I do offer a 30-minute it's free, complimentary career solution call, right? If you want that call, drop career solution in the comments and I'll reach out to you, give you my exclusive access form. You do that, we set up, your call, and then we meet together. And then if I'm absolutely certain that I can help you, I'll tell you how to get started with the next step to get started with the coaching so you can actually leave that job and find one that you like. So thank you for being here. Take care, and I will see you next week.